What's going on? We're back. It is Friday night for me. You're probably watching this Saturday morning because you're a not tryhard who waits too long to do your college football, but that's okay. At least you're watching an informative show to get informed on what you need to do for college football DFS. What's up, new guy? My name's James, better known as Degenerate75. I'm a DFS content creator who's here to help you get a little bit better at DFS, specifically football and golf, because that's what I focus on. If you're tired of getting guys just give you them picks and them plays, well, you might have just found the right station, because I'm here to help you with a little thing called the process. If that sounds interesting, well, I encourage you to hang around for the next 20 minutes. If you find you like the cut of my jib, look at that schedule right there. I do this show every Friday night. I also do NFL on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and I do PGA on Wednesday when there's golf. The big guy stays busy. Always going to be bringing you the process shit. None of that stupid picks and plays. Leave that shit for the touts. Let's get going. So little time. Man, it really sucks. College football DFS this time of year. Late October is just the worst time of year for it because, well, like, we have NBA now, we have NFL, and DraftKings starts nerfing the contest. The big main that's been $250,000 all year is now down to $200,000. So now instead of 20% going to first, it's now up to 25%, which really starts to get to my edge of the threshold that I'm even willing to consider. So if if you're a GBP guy, it's not great, right? Even the $4.20 max is a little nerfed right now, but it's still a good structure. Let's see, what do we got down here? The old 5K air raid. Yeah, that's a third to first. Probably tell them we ain't playing in that. Get out of here. I'm just going to tell you what I always tell you. The most fun you can have at college football DFS is winning. And you want to know how to become a more sustainable winner at college football DFS? Quit playing in GBPs and check out cash. Specifically, look at head-to-heads, 50-50s, double-ups, right? More, and out of those three head-to-heads, start going and playing 10. Just go play 10 random people at head-to-heads, and then go look at the lineups they build and be like, this guy's a moron, and write his name down and remember him next week, and if he posts action, go play him again. All right, I got my little list of morons. They're doing the Lord's work out there, all right? If you do want to play a GBP and you're not liking any of these, well, let me tell you about mine right here. The link is in the description of this. Go sign up now. It is a $5 3 max flat payout structure, reduced rate, and it's part of the community. Go fill it up. Go fill it up. Only 150 spots. Do some up winning it last week. Congratulations. See a couple mother fathers flying the flag. I appreciate those guys. And if you want to know something, guys, I just need to tell you this. I put all of my projections and my ownership. You can see right here. This is called the solver. You see all of it in there. My projections are in there. What is this? Well, it's pretty simple, Bob. If you are trying to play college football DFS without projections you can trust on an optimizer, you're a poor soul. I feel bad for you, man. And if the best optimizer out there is the solver right here, not to mention it comes with my sweaty, try-hard ownership and projections in there for every single slate. And it's not going to magically help you win. But if you know how to really focus on the right games and good player pools, it's going to make the best version of those lineups. If you don't know where to start with a cash lineup, simply just go build optimals and see what it's spitting out, and it gives you a pretty good idea. And I know a lot of you are thinking you can't afford that. Well, trust me. This right here, the optimizer with all my projections in it, so long as you use that little showdown, hoedown symbol, only $24.99 a month, or you can get all sports for $49.99 a month, and I do them for PGA, NFL, college football showdown, NFL showdown, soon to be NASCAR, so I'm telling you it's worth it. Just use that little showdown, hoedown symbol. Let's get going. Hey, I think you need to be aware. There is a couple games that I think could be affected by the weather tomorrow. Both those games are in Kansas. One in Lawrence, one in Manhattan. So we'll be keeping an eye out on that, all right? As you can see, it's looking like it's going to be a real cold there in Lawrence, Kansas tomorrow. The rain doesn't look like it's going to show up until later in the day, but cold weather, not always the best scoring conditions, right? Cold and rainy, definitely not good scoring conditions. This is called the Rosetta Stone. This is something I have for all the members over on my site at Degen75.com. They get the fancy one that's all colored up with every single thing, but this is the stripped-down version because last time I checked, this is a free-ass YouTube show. We're going to run through all 12 games on the DraftKings main slate, and I'm going to just give you some updates on some injuries, give you some ideas, help you play the game, and not give you a single pick, because if you want to know a little secret, bud, I don't really care who you play. That's a big secret I've never told anybody. All right, the first game up, Florida State, Wake. Wake kind of... they suck, all right? They're more like a Wake because they're dead. Am I right? The Florida State is likely going to beat the shit out of Wake Forest. We still aren't sure who's going to start, if Mitch Griffiths is going to be back for Wake Forest or if it's going to be Mariucci. I don't think it really matters, Bob. They're not in a great spot here. Florida State is kind of rolling teams up right now. I have a feeling they're going to do this. You can see the implied total for Wake Forest. They're only giving them 15 points. You know, Jordan Travis, Trey Benson, these guys are very appealing, but you also got to wonder, are they going to get 4 quarters of action, or is Florida State going to blow out Wake Forest and they don't even get to play the fourth quarter? It does appear as though the big news is Johnny Wilson is likely to be out. I think that makes Keon Coleman one of the best top-end plays on this slate. if you think this game's going to be competitive. But more than that, I think it makes Jaheim Bell pretty viable at cash, right? He's a guy who's already been trending up in usage, and now you make him basically the second wide receiver at $4,200. You're going to need some pump pieces this week. He could be part of that. But we also have some pretty good value on this slate. Trey Benson, a guy I don't love for cash, but man, I think he could get there because that guy can hit some home runs, and at GPPs, you want to have those guys. If you're forcing me to play somebody from Wake, I guess I would go Jamal Banks, but man, I just don't want to pay $6,300 for a guy that is going to probably get blown out. This Houston-Kansas State game, once again, we do got to watch the weather. There is a chance to watch. I'm going to go put my little weather thing on there. Let's put a little, won't let me. It says invalid. Whatever. I was going to put the little rain cloud. It's so cute. Houston almost beat Texas last week. Kansas State is starting to get unstoppable. They're getting into that late season flow that Kansas State gets into. You can see this line has a 17-point total, and I don't think anybody is giving Houston a chance. But this is such a trap game for Kansas State with the big Texas game lingering next week. They're at home. Everybody's telling them how good they are. Houston, of the heartbreaking loss to Texas, actually showed a pulse for maybe the first time all year. This strikes me as a game where Houston might keep this closer than you think. And if that happens, this game has shootout potential because you can see it already has a damn near 60-point total, and if Houston can somehow find a way to get to 28, that really opens up K-State to have a monster game. The problem with K-State is they're still kind of splitting the quarterbacks. They have the freshman Avery Johnson really starting to take a lot of snaps away from Will Howard. I think they clearly want to go with him, but they're too nice to just tell Will Howard to fuck off. The running backs, Gidden and Ward, are both awesome, but they are truly in about a 50-50 split, right? They're getting pretty much equal carries. Giddens gets a few more, but Ward's a little cheaper, right? So it's what do you want? It's hard to pay up for those guys when there's other running backs around the same price that get almost all of the work for their team. But, man, in a GPP, I think you got to be willing to rotate one of those guys in because it feels like one of them's going to go for 30. I wish I could tell you which one it's going to be. The other big news for K-State is old Ben Snott is going to be back. He got banged up last week, left the game, but it appears as though he's going to be back. I never love to pay over $5,000 for a tight end that's not named Brock Bowers. So I don't know if I can get there, but him and Brooks do seem to be the only guys who get consistent targets for that team. If you're looking to run it back with somebody from Houston, I think Donovan Smith stacked with any two of these receivers is very viable in GPPs. I don't think you should consider that for a second at cash. But Samuel Brown, probably the number one receiver, then Golden. And we saw Manjack have a monster week last week against Texas. So clearly the number 3 wide receiver on a team that passes the ball. How much? A shit ton. I think this is everybody's favorite game, this OU-Kansas game. But as I already told you, it's going to be cold, and there is at least a chance of rain during this game. This is Kansas is a team that is scoring very efficiently this year. You can see even against OU, they still have an implied 28-point total with OU probably playing the best defense they've played in 15 years. OU, on the other hand, with a 38-point total, Dylan Gabriel only priced up to $9,400, seems very, very safe. The running back situation, good luck figuring that one out. It seems like Tawi Walker is likely to be back from the suspension. Is he going to play? Is he still going to be limited? We don't know. Gavin Sawchuk finally started to show some breakout last week, but they still think Marcus Majors can run the ball. I'm just going to tell you, as an OU fan, I don't even know what's going on there. Don't mess with it. The wide receivers for OU, though, is probably some of the most appetizing on the slate. Jalil Farouk had a big letdown week last week, but he is clearly the team's number 1 receiver. He's out on the field the most. He's usually getting the most valuable targets, someone to continue to go to. Drake Stoops is almost a lock for 8 targets and 6 catches. If you're looking for a safe type guy, I just worry about his upside because he never gets to pass more than 10 yards down the field. And lastly, the home run hitter for OU is Nick Anderson. If you have not heard the stat, he has 16 catches this year and 8 touchdowns. I don't know that he can continue that pace, but hell, maybe he can. The man's magic. From there, if you want an absolute punt, I think you consider Jaden Gibson. On the flip side for Kansas, a team that runs the ball particularly well, they are still without Daniels. I'm telling you, that guy's up to no good. He's up to something nefarious. He's just trying to get that red shirt and go to USC until Lincoln Riley ditches USC. Jason Bean will be starting at quarterback, $6,700 for a team with a 28-point implied total is not bad. But I'm just going to tell you, Jason Bean ain't that good. He's not that good of a football player. If you're making me play somebody from Kansas, give me Devin Neal. Kansas can run the ball well, and Devin Neal is a home run hitter. Only thing you got to worry about is Highshell does get about a third of the snaps, right? So it's not like Neal is an every down back, and if they get in a bad script, he could get scripted out of this. If you want to play roulette with the Kansas wide receivers, you go ahead. If you made me pick one, I guess I would go with Arnold. But, man, 4 targets a game for $4,800, I'm out like a fat kid in dodgeball. But I do think if you're playing GPPs, this is a really interesting game to take Gabriel and maybe double stack him and Bean and double stack him and just go all in and hope this game's 42-35, although the weather makes me think that it's probably going to go on the under. Moving to West Virginia and Central Florida, I think this is maybe the best sneaky shootout game on the slate. Plumlee is back, but he didn't look super electric versus OU, but he is back, and he is helming an offense with a 33-point total. RJ Harvey is kind of gotten the clear backfield back to himself. He is leading it. He is a home run hitter, and at 6,200, you got to be pretty warm to him against West Virginia, who does not play the best defense. Javon Baker coming off of the big week last week, but a lot of that was done on broken plays. I never trust UCF's pass catchers in cash, but I think in GPPs, you always got to be warm to them. I do want to just warn you that I'm not sure that Plumlee is 100%, and a lot of the value that you get in John Riles Plumlee is that he rushes the ball, and he wasn't running a whole lot versus the Sooners last week, so just keep an eye on that. But 7,200 is a gross underpricing on him. If you do think he's even 90% healthy, I think he's a big-time consideration, not only for GPPs, but for cash. And going over to West Virginia, Garrett Green is a dude who is kind of good at fantasy football, right? He gets us a lot of points at college football DFS. They are likely to be in a script where they're behind. He's going to be aggressive. I think at $8,100 with what he offers with his legs, you can see we have him projected for 60 yards and half a touchdown. That's a pretty big projection for a quarterback. In a script where this game could easily shoot out down in Orlando where it's going to be warm. These are just two teams that aren't stopping a lot of people on defense. Don't hate Garrett Green. Really don't hate Garrett Green at GPPs. If you're going to stack him, I think Devin Carter is definitely the one you're going to want to look to stack him with. Moving on from there, the old Gamecocks just kind of suck. They got 2 wins this year, which sucks. I like Shane Beamer, but I know a little secret that nobody else knows. Spencer Rattler sucks. But Texas A&M is also overrated as hell. So maybe Spencer Rattler's the ultimate, GPP play this week. He could get there. Mario Anderson is a pretty viable play if you need a punt at running back. He is leading that backfield now, and he's only 4,700. But I think the big news of South Carolina and where a lot of value on this slate can open up is it does appear as though Antoine Wells Jr. is going to be out, and Xavier Legette is at least questionable. So if both those guys are out, I think guys like Trey Knox and Omega Balake, I know it's Blake. Shut up. All right. Those guys are going to become mega values if Legette is out. Okay. So if those guys are out, be watching that because South Carolina is likely to be in a script where they are going to be behind and passing the ball a lot. So those, and you're going to need some value because you're probably going to want to pay up at quarterback this week, right? Going over to Texas A&M, I think people are going to play Max Johnson at cash, which, at 6,500, he can probably deliver a 3X on that, but I just know a little secret that most people don't. Max Johnson sucks, all right? I just know this. If I'm going to play somebody from A&M, give me Le'Veon Moss, who seems to have really taken over that backfield and is really leading. And at 5,200, I think you can expect 16 to 20 touches in a game script where they're going to be ahead. That's who I'm looking to play for A&M. Or if you really want to force me to, I think Evan Stewart and Anais Smith are both set up beautifully for very good games, and both being under 6,000, I think makes them both super affordable and super playable. Only concern is Texas A&M has been spreading the ball around. Max Johnson does not play favorites the same way Connor Wegman did. Moving over to Indiana and Penn State, well, let me go ahead and save you a little bit of time. Don't play Indiana. There you go, Bob. Pretty simple. Penn State, I think both of the running backs are going to be very popular, Singleton and Allen, but do not forget, these guys are basically in a 52-48 backfield split. Singleton does seem to be the better one, but that's because he scores more touchdowns. If you go look at the average rushing yards, Katron Allen is higher. I think both of them are very, very live in GPPs, and I think you should have them in your GPP pool because it almost seems like one of them is certain to go off, but trying to guess which one it's going to be is tough, and there's just a chance they both just get a nice solid 16, 17, 18 points, and neither of them break the slate. Penn State, or maybe you just play completely contrarian and just go with the old Drew Aller stack, who is vastly overpriced and basically only throws the ball to one guy, Lambert Smith. But by and large, man, I just feel like this is a game where everybody from Penn State eats a little bit and probably no one eats too much. There is a viable path to just fading this game because of the blowout nature. Getting over to Duke, Riley Leonard seems like a true 50-50, but the line is moving towards Louisville, which makes me think that he's probably going to be out. So Harry Belen IV is likely to start, which totally nerfs the value of Duke. Riley Leonard is a true talent, like a first-round NFL talent, and Henry Belen, well, hold on, I wrote down a note. He's not, okay? So with that in mind, I think this strongly hurts Duke's offense. Their total probably goes down below 20 now, expected total, because, Louisville played a little bit of defense this year. They're like a legit team, which sounds so weird to say. Is Lamar Jackson back there? So if Leonard's out, I think that you have to give a huge cut to not only all the receivers, but I also think it hurts the running game, as Riley Leonard really opens up that running game by just the threat of his running and his down-the-field passing. For Louisville, I think old Jack Plummer is serviceable, but at 7,500 just seems a little overpriced with how good the other quarterbacks are on this slate. Jawar Jordan is a status watch, but I do think he's going to be back, and if we've seen anything this year, that motherfather's electric, so I would definitely be interested in him. And if you don't know, Jamari Thrash is certainly the number one wide receiver there at Louisville, but he is not the usage monster he was at the start of the year. At the start of the year, we were seeing double-digit targets for him nearly every single game. Now that number's fallen down to 8.3. I'm not saying you can't play him. I'm just saying he's not the auto, 11 target. He's going to get you 20-point guy anymore. Moving on to Pitt and Notre Dame. Once again, this is a blowout alert. Pitt is not very good. If you want to know who you should play from Pitt, you should play nobody, right? Maybe one of the if you want to play Bub Means or Mumfield, I guess you can, but that's just, why get cute? Like, you're just trying to get cute. If you're playing GPPs, I guess you can get cute, but if you're considering for cash, why don't you just go ahead and send me an invite? For Notre Dame, you got to worry about the blowout. It just seems like they don't really have guys that go off. If you force me to play somebody, you always got to consider Estime. He probably will get his 16 to 20 touches. If he busts a long touchdown run, maybe 2, he could break the slate. But man, Estime is more of a grinded out guy. He's not a home run guy. A wide receiver, Mitchell Evans, has definitely established himself as the number one wide receiver, so I guess you got to give him some interest at just 5,400. But even as the number one wide receiver, you can see he's not even averaging 5 targets a game. He's only at 4.9 targets a game. That's not great, Bob, for a dude that's 5,400. Moving over to BYU Texas. I think this game could be sneaky, right? Texas is playing Malik Murphy, who everybody's going to play. They're just going to assume that, he's getting the keys to a Cadillac. He gets to be the quarterback for Texas' offense. And they forget a little secret. Malik Murphy can barely throw a forward pass, right? He's one of those dudes that shows up to the combine, looks like $1 million, and then you put him out there on the field and he sucks. That's the truth with Malik Murphy, okay? But you know who doesn't suck? Jonathan Brooks. That guy is probably the most free square on this slate. And even CJ Baxter, I think, is viable in GPPs. At wide receiver, Xavier Worthy does get the bump up to 6,800. Adonai Mitchell is really good too. But with Malik Murphy not being able to throw the forward pass, I almost think that Texas wide receivers are almost unplayable on this slate. But I will tell you, I think they are going to get pushed for 4 quarters, and I think BYU is going to score some points in this game. I think they're going to score 21, 24, maybe 28 points in this game and could possibly push Texas all the way to the end. If they do that, you got to think guys like Keaton Slovis is probably having a good game, and he's very reasonably priced. And the best thing about Keaton Slovis is he is super affordable to stack with Chase Roberts, Isaac Rex, and Darius Lassiter all being right around that $5,000 range. Oregon and Utah, everybody loves to play Oregon at DFS. They're a fast offense. They're effective offense. They basically only give the ball to 3 guys, which is really nice. But if you think Oregon's going to go into Utah and just roll up 600 yards of offense and 42 points, you don't know Utah. Utah's going to muck this game up. They're going to play slow. This game just reeks of a 24-21 type game. And guys like Bo Nix at 9,800, it's almost impossible for him to get there if they're only going to score 24, 28 points, right? He has to have monster games to pay off a $9,800 price tag. Bucky Irving did get banged up last week, but appears as though he's going to be back. Whittington is still out, so he's going to be leading that backfield. But once again, you don't just go into Utah and rush for 300 yards like he did last week, right? Troy Franklin, definitely the best wide receiver on the slate. But at $8,300, it's super hard to get to him, especially if we think that Utah's going to muck up this game and keep it tight. Tess Johnson, also, interesting, but at $6,400, just overpriced. You can't get there in this environment. I'm actually more interested in Utah. If you didn't see, our boy Savaki just went absolute ape shit last week. Was that 2 weeks ago? I can't even remember. The weeks are running together. But I think Jaquindon Jackson is still the leader of that backfield. I do think they're going to find some success running the ball. And if they don't, they're probably going to get their asses kicked because that's their only chance of beating Oregon. As always, Bryson Barnes, I'm just out on him. I think he sucks, and I think their wide receivers aren't very good. I want to call him Bryson Barnes a game manager, but I'm not even sure he's that, Bob. Getting on to Georgia and Florida, the big news here is Brock Bowers out 4 to 6 weeks, and so I think everybody is just going to go to old Delp, Oscar Delp, the backup tight end, and people are going to forget one thing. He ain't Brock Bowers, okay? So I think everybody's just going to be playing him as a free square, but just because the tight end's out Brock Bowers hardly plays like a tight end, right? He basically plays like a slot or a wideout more than he plays like a tight end. So, look, Oscar Delp is fine. If you need the punt, go ahead, but I think that you're going to see that usage probably pass more to guys like Lovett and McConkey and Jack Saint, right? I think those are the guys that are probably going to eat that up, whereas everybody's just going to go play Delp, and it just reeks of a 2 catches for 11 yards game from that motherfather. I will say, Florida, normally you don't want to play against Georgia's defense, but something tells me that Florida's going to keep this game close. I don't know who it's going to be, but it does, maybe just a naked Graham Mertz could get there. It just seems like a game where Florida could push this at the neutral site in Jacksonville. Georgia is not the dominant team they've been the last couple of years, offensively or defensively. Florida will push this game. I guarantee it. And the last game on the slate, probably my favorite game because there's two things to remember here. Caleb Williams is still the best player in college football. I hate to admit it, but he is. And USC plays the worst defense of all the Power 5 schools out there. There you go. Those are two facts. So when I come to college football DFS, that makes me really want to look at this game. Caleb Williams at 10,500. People are overreacting to the last two games. He had tough matchups against good teams. Cal ain't a good team, Bob. You can see USC has a 39-point total. Caleb Williams is 10,500. I will almost guarantee you he will pay 3x off on that, right? Unless he gets hurt, the guy is still an animal. He is still running an offense that will almost certainly get 35 points, and he is the catalyst of all of those points. So don't just X off Caleb Williams because he got off to a couple slow starts or because there's rumors he's going to shut it down for the season. Caleb Williams ain't shutting shit down, okay? So trust me on this one. The problem with Caleb Williams, he's almost impossible to stack. He spreads the ball out to so many guys. Taj Washington, Brennan Rice, Dorian Singer, Mario Williams, Zachariah Branch. They have so many weapons there. They ain't recruiting any linemen, so they get every wide receiver in the country. It makes it very hard to stack Caleb Williams. And maybe the answer is you just play a naked Caleb Williams and just hope that he runs for a touchdown or two and then passes 3 different touchdowns to 3 different guys. But I think the sneakiest team on the slate is the Cal Bears, the Soy Boys from Berkeley. Ben Finley seems to have got Wally pipped and lost his job to Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza has looked good. Now, is he good? I don't know. But playing USC will make anybody look good, okay? Every team that plays USC looks like a world beater. So if you need a punt at 5,800, he is probably the best price-adjusted quarterback on this slate. Only thing you got to worry about is if he gets to a slow start, does he lose his job back to Ben Finley? That is the concern you have to consider when you have him in there. Jaden Ott is an absolute usage monster for Cal. He's going to be in the whole game. He is going to eat. I love him at GPPs against USC's piece of shit defense. I don't know that I can pay that much at cash, but I could definitely get there at GPPs. And at wide receiver, I think you basically got the top two. You have Jeremiah Hunter and Taj Davis, who are going to be leading this. They're probably going to be in a script where they're behind and throwing the ball plenty. And, they get to play against USC's shitty secondary. So these are all things to consider on reasons you should consider Cal players. I'm not saying Cal's going to win this game, but I will almost guarantee you they will score 28 points, okay? Because I know a little secret, longer than all of you did, that USC's defense is fraudulent because I had to watch these assholes coach at OU. All right, that's it. That is the breakdown of the slate. I got a couple more things I want to run by you. But before we do, go check out my site, Degen75.com. College football is still going. I have a football package for both NFL and college football that you can get. It is way cheaper than any other tout site out there. You get the stone for both college football and NFL. And now we even have a package if you just want to be a part of the community for as low as $5. Lastly, it's not about me winning. It's about my boy Bannock winning $20,000 and $20,000 and Nungs winning $20,000 and D-Head winning $5,600 and all these dudes. I mean, just 13 GPP winners. When you help people with the process and you give them good tools, it's incredible to see. Just go look and see how often you see that flag flying. It's not a freaking accident, Bob. And lastly, if you want to try out the site but you're reluctant, just simply sign up for my newsletter, which is in the description of this. Let's support Degen75 Noah on Twitter, and they will hook you up with a free week on the website. And lastly, if you've ever wanted to meet me and you're into golf, the Waste Management come this February. We're having a meetup, me and Tambo. You should come check it out. It's going to be a blast. I hope you have enjoyed the show. I hope you're ready to go. And if you are a member over on my site, don't forget, an hour before lock tomorrow, we will be there breaking down all the breaking news, what allowed us to get on Gavin Sawchuk and cash across the board last week. So make sure you're there, 10 o'clock a.m. Lord's time zone. We'll see you then, you mother fathers. For the rest of you, please hit the like. I appreciate you staying around. We'll see you next time. Enjoy this outro.